Hello and welcome to episode 28 of the We Were Athletes Once podcast. My name is Kyle. I am joined by Cody.
I'm just here so I don't get fined.
Cody doesn't want to be podcasting tonight because he's old and tired.
That's not why I don't want to podcast.
He's also on a diet, so he's cranky.
I am. That's not the only other reason I don't want to do this.
Yeah, the real reason is because the Los Angeles Dodgers have won the 2025 World Series. Um, Deja vu all over again. Back to back world champions for the first time since the 98 to 2000 New York Yankees.
Oh, I
Uh,
see a theme here.
yeah. And, well, no, that wasn't when they were buying everyone.
Just after.
Just after, yeah. Uh,
They already had them. They didn't need to buy them anymore. They already bought them.
we, with the Dodgers winning the World Series, it brings a lot of different talking points. And I know one of them Cody is very excited to talk about.
I'm not excited about anything.
But before we do that, I want to talk about objectively
Without telling lie.
as a baseball fan in general. This was an amazing series. It has it had just about everything you would possibly want from a World Series. It had, and I'm trying to pull up our text message chat because I brought up everything that it had. It had an 18 inning game that ended in a walk off, historic
At
pitching
2 a.m.
performances at 2 a.m., historic pitching performances from both teams with
One more than the other.
Yoshinobu Yamamoto and Treya Savage.
Savage was amazing.
Amazing. All throughout the playoffs. They had most hits ever from one player in a playoff run, who was Ernie Clement.
Yeah, let's go.
Of all the star power that was in this World Series, Ernie Clement broke the record for most hits in a
I
playoff
mean,
run.
Vlad was right there too. He either
Vlad,
tied it or was one behind it.
um, also, Game 7 ending in extras. There was potential for a walk-off. We didn't get it. And it also had one of the, I don't want to say better catches because I think
It was not a good catch.
Andy Pa has made that catch look a lot harder than it needed to be.
Andy Pa has turned into a linebacker and obliterated Kike Hernandez. And I was just praying for that ball to fall.
um, and also, I didn't even mention a guy who hadn't had a hit since October 2nd. So, over a month since his last hit, was one of the heroes of this World Series by hitting a home run in Game 7. Um, Cody, again, I know you have your feelings about this, but taking out even who the teams were in the playoffs, you have to admit this was a great series.
It was a good series. It was fun to watch. I watched all the way through the 18 inning game. I was up at 2 a.m. watching it. So I was engaged, and it was mainly engaged in hating the Dodgers. So as someone who is a resident hockey fan here, um, I will root for anyone over Canada to win a cup. I was rooting for Canada to win a World Series because that's how much I hate the Dodgers.
Yeah,
I would
and
root for the Cubs over the Dodgers at this point. That's how much I can't stand the Dodgers.
I cannot go that far.
I can.
I just can't. Um, yeah, I told you this, and I know you don't necessarily agree with it. This was a top, I'll call it three or four.
I don't disagree with that statement.
It is a top three or four World Series of my lifetime. Because the ones that came up to me whenever I think of the best World Series of my lifetime, 2011, which was the one between the Cardinals and the Rangers, just because of how amazing of a performance David Freese had, and the fact that the Cardinals were down to their last strike twice in Game 6. just to win it and then go on to win the World Series. 2016, because it was a 7 game series that the Cubs came back from 3-1 to break a 108-year curse.
That
That
popped up on my Facebook feed today, and I was not happy. It was me cheering on Facebook for the Indians.
Yeah, I had those pop up too. And the one that I forgot about was 2001 because I know you're not going to like me saying this. This was in my lifetime, but I was not able to experience it because I was 1 year old.
Shut
Um,
up.
but that
Okay,
was also a
that
great series.
that needs to be on the list. That was an amazing series.
100% it does. Um, and the
And for those of
2025,
you that don't know, that was the Arizona Diamondbacks and the New York Yankees. Game 7. Think Kurt Schilling and Randy Johnson and Gonzo. Like that was such a fun series to watch,
yeah, it was
and I do remember it.
Kurt Schilling and Randy Johnson co World Series MVPs that
Yeah,
year, and it was the
deserved.
last. It was the last World Series that ended on a walk-off hit in Game 7 because it was a walk-off single
Yep,
just over the head of the Yankees infield by Luis Gonzalez
Gonzo
off of
baby,
Mariano, off of Mariano Rivera.
epic.
Um, and the 2025 World Series is right there with those. I mean, like I said, it had just about everything you wanted, and if it ended in a walk-off in Game 7,
It might go down as the greatest.
it would have been the greatest World Series again, at least of my lifetime. Because I know, anyone that is 60 plus years old that might be watching this are like, oh, what about this World Series from the 30s? No, like, sorry, it's just not in my Rolodex. It was I could not have been that excited about it. Um, but yeah, this was a great World Series, regardless of how it ended. Because I was not a fan of how the 2016 World Series ended. I still have to say it's one of the greatest World Series of all time.
Yeah,
Is this it taking out our personal feelings about the teams? Is this the greatest World Series of all time? Being objective, not
it
being
may
car.
be. It may be. It's hard for me to be unbiased with 2011 just because that was no one thought the Cardinals were winning that series. And then in the fashion to do it the way that David Freese did it, and then to come back in Game 7 and do it again, um, it was awesome. So as a Cardinals fan, it's hard for me not to say that. Um, I remember watching the 2001 World Series and thinking this is amazing. That's really like the first like World Series that I got into. Like I'd seen other ones before, but that was the first one that kind of drew me in because of how iconic it was. Because you know it was the evil empire, and watching them fall was fantastic. Um, I mean, you can see a theme here for me. I can't stand that type of organization and how they go about things, and so watching the unthinkable happened. The Yankees fall, Mariano Rivera giving up the hit to end the World Series. Like it just wasn't something that anybody saw coming. And to see the performance of Schilling and the big unit there was crazy. So that one is up there for me as well. Like you said, 2016 was a good one. It just sucks the way it ended. I don't have that one. I think that's the bottom of my list of the other ones that you said. But this one is definitely up there. It did have everything, and it had the drama, and it had the almost wins um, in Game 7. It had the stuck ball, which I think is stupid in Game 6. Um, so there was a lot there, and you saw a lot of unsung heroes in this one. So and then you saw some of the big names step up too. So it had a lot of everything.
Yeah, it's the only way I could be unbiased about everything is if the 2025 World Series gave me absolutely everything to where there's no way I could be biased about it. But to everyone watching at home that doesn't know, and Cody might not, Cody might know this, but possibly not. The reason why I love sports so much, and the reason why I'm choosing to do what I do for a living, work in sports radio. We're obviously trying to build this podcast. The reason why I love sports so much is because of the 2011 World Series. Not only because of what it meant for the city of St. Louis, you know, what just how great of a World Series that was for this city. Also, a lot of personal reasons. It was uh, basically my last great memory with my grandpa, which I now live in the house that I watched that entire World Series in. So it is. I will say it is virtually impossible for me to be unbiased about this because
Yeah.
that is the core memory of my childhood.
Yeah. The 2011 one's weird for me too because I was in college when that one happened, and it like it didn't seem like a big deal at the time for a lot of people. But I also went to a school where like a lot of the population was foreign, and we've got a lot of people from around the country there. So it wasn't like this massive deal, and I just remember watching it by myself in like an upstairs game common room area on one of the big TVs, and like we won, and I was like, "This is awesome!" Losing it, and just nobody around me really cared at college. So that it was a weird feeling, but it was I mean, it was one of the most epic games. I mean, I remember Game Six. Um, they were having a freaking movie night, watching Nerdfest with a bunch of my friends and my wife, or would-be wife, and
Now, wife.
now wife, yeah. Um, and I'm in the person's house that we're watching it in their parents' bedroom because that's the only other TV in the house, and we're watching the World Series and everyone gave up on it. And then me and him are freaking out in the bedroom because David Freese did David Freese things and brought us back. And then people started kind of coming in and joining us as that extra innings happened. And then the whole house blew off. But it was weird because game six was like that. And then game seven was just such a weird experience for me. So, um, it was a great one. Obviously, I mean, I got to see '06. I got to see 11. So I think six was the coolest one for me because it was the first World Series that I got to experience in my lifetime.
Yeah, I was old enough to experience '06 and remember that. It didn't hit as much as well as 2011. I'm currently in the room that I watched Game
Yeah.
6 of the 2011 World. This is my grandpa's old room that I now is now my room. I am in the room looking at the TV that I watched Game 6 of the 2011 World Series on right now. And just talking about it right now brings back a lot of memories that makes it hard for me to hold it together. Um, so it's hard for me to not be biased to 2011 World Series. That being said, we are talking about the 2025 World Series, and it was about as close as it gets. I actually did really enjoy what the 2016 World Series was, even though I am a Cardinals fan watching the Cubs win a World Series. Like, I remember even then, I was in high school when the 2016 World Series happened, and me and my brother were losing our minds watching the Rajai Davis home run because we were ecstatic about the
Yeah.
Cubs not winning the World Series. And then the rain delay happened,
And
and
freaking,
Rizzo and Ben Zobrist, and or Jason Hayward it was that gave
freaking
the
Jason Hayward. It
Jason
had to be
Hayward
him.
Jason Hayward gave the speech during the rain delay, and Ben Zobrist got the big hit to end it. Uh, but 2025, like I already listed off everything that this had, we were a walk off away from it literally giving you everything you could want from a World Series. This was a phenomenal World Series. The script writers were amazing. Uh,
Don't even start that.
and before we talk about the winners, I want to talk about the losers because the Blue Jays I don't know if a lot of people necessarily expected the Blue Jays to be in this spot going in into the 2025
No,
season.
nobody did. They were last place team in the division last year.
Yeah, this was also again going into the season a walk year for Vladimir Guerrero. It was a walk year for Bo Bichette, and you
And
didn't know what the future was going to be for this Blue Jays team. And then in April, about 2 weeks into the season, they sign Vladimir Guerrero Jr. to this $500 million extension, the third highest contract in the history of baseball. Uh, they still haven't signed Bo Bichette, but I think having this experience might make them a little bit more willing to be like, we have everything we need. We just have to do what we can to run it back.
yeah, well, I was thinking about it last night after the game as I immediately turned it off angrily. Um, I was thinking about it and I'm like, man, one, this team was a last place team last year. And two, at the beginning of the season, before it started, before Vlad got his contract, like there were serious talks about Vlad getting traded and them blowing this whole team up because they didn't if they didn't sign Vlad, they're like we have no chance. We need to rebuild and start this over. And you went from that a few months ago to should have winning the World Series.
Yeah. And everyone looked at this year as it being like the year before their World Series window closed, if not a year too late. And it's kind of like I already said. I hope they look at this experience not like a Marlins team from 1997 or from 2003 who went all the way and won the World Series just to blow it up the very next offseason. Like again,
Well, I would
obviously,
like to thank the Marlins because I very much enjoyed Edgar Renteria playing for us. So thank you.
did oh he wasn't on the he was on the '04 team, wasn't on the '06 team though.
No, he retired before then, I
He didn't
believe.
retire, but he was just on a different. I think he
Oh,
was on the
maybe
Red
not.
Sox at that point.
Well, oh 06, or that was David Eckstein.
Yeah, but uh, yeah, I hope they look at this as something to build off of, and realizing, okay, maybe re-signing Boba is a good thing.
How can
His
you not with what he just did?
Yeah, his defense isn't the best, and I
Well,
know
he
that's
played
something
through an
people
injury.
like to knock him for, but they decided to play him at second base throughout the playoffs because they knew how valuable he was.
Yeah,
And
you needed that bat in the lineup, and it paid off. He was playing through an injury. He stuck it out. He showed a lot of grit. You know, they're hockey fans up in Canada, and they want those guys that are going to play through anything because that's what they're used to, and that's what several Blue Jays players did. You know, George Springer and Bo Bichette playing through their injuries and what they were going through. Big testament to them, and they were some of the leaders on that team, and it kind of set the tone and the expectation for everybody. And I think you have to try and run it back. Um, you know, you get a full year out of Trey Yasevich this year. Instead of 6 months of him going from single A and drafted all the way up to being the best pitcher in the postseason for them. Um, I think there's a couple of spots that I would like for them to shore up a little bit. That bullpen got to be better. It cost them too many times. Um, I think adding a starter, adding a couple bullpen pieces, and you like what's out there, like around them in the field, like it's pretty solid. And the one thing that I don't think gets talked about enough with this Blue Jays team, we know about the slugging, we know about the power, but this team without that power was still a really good team. They didn't strike out hardly at all. They put the ball in play and they made teams play defense and they gave themselves a chance by not striking out. And there's a lot to be said for that for me.
yeah, and one more thing going off of that, and it's something that I don't like to bring up really, but like this should be a World Series that leaves a bitter taste in the Blue Jays' mouths because
100%.
there were so many opportunities for them to end this series. They go up at 3-2. They win 2 games on the road in Los Angeles, come back home up 3-2, and they were down for most of the game in Game 6. After that rally in the fourth by the Dodgers, but look at that ninth inning. There were so many.
All getting stuck changed everything.
Yeah, that ball hit into center field that Justin Dean just left,
I
and
so dumb. Like
it's happened to be stuck in the wall. It's a ground rule
so
double,
stupid.
and the very next play, line drive in the
Terrible base running.
yeah, line drive into left field by Kike Hernandez, able to double off Addison Barger at second base. I mean, I thought the series might have been over like going into that at bat, because that was the winning run. That was the tying run at second base. That was
Yep.
the winning run at the plate. So maybe not that at bat, but I thought that was the Blue Jays' chance to win it right there. And they get doubled off because of, you know, a ball that might be a little
It was
bit tough to
aggressive. They
read
were trying to be aggressive and score the run from second, and
with
they
a good defender in left field, but a bad arm.
yeah, but also that was a terrible read. Like the ball wasn't even close to being a hit. Like maybe it sounded like it off the bat, but if you looked at where that ball was going, it was like right at Kike. Like there was no reason you should have been running.
Yeah, Mookie said at shortstop he thought it was gonna be get down to, but from what it seems like, it was just a great jump and a great read by Kike Hernandez, and
Still bad base running. I don't care
it
what we
is
call
still
it.
bad base running. And then we go into Game 7, and again they're ahead for most of this game. I believe very early on, a 3-run homer by Bo Bichette puts them on top, and the Dodgers are able to keep pace for the most part, but the Blue Jays had the lead for the entire game up until the ninth inning. And, Jeff Hoffman on the mound, he's the closer. He's the guy they signed for this exact situation to be the closer to close out the World Series. And Miguel Rojas comes up, who had 7 home runs this year, which is more than I expected. But also, I I told you what was going to happen. Uh, 7 home runs this year, but also hadn't had a hit since October 2nd, going into that at bat, I believe, or maybe the game. I don't know if he had another hit throughout the
I
game.
think he had two that game. He had a single and a home run.
Because I know he came in as a defensive replacement, or I believe he did.
He had a single and a home run that game.
But going
Oh,
into
he
that game,
started.
did he start? Okay.
Yeah.
I was at work and I got home. Uh, I was walking in the door as Miguel Rojas hit the home run. So
Why did you come inside? So it's your fault.
because
Stay
my
at work. Blue Jays won the World Series. I'm not mad.
because my phone wouldn't let me watch, the connection from my driveway wouldn't let me watch. You know how bad the connection is over here. Uh, but I walk through the door. Literally, as I'm walking through the door, I get the notification that Miguel Rojas hit the home run, and that leads us to an 11 inning game, 12 inning game, 11 inning game.
I don't know. I tried to forget about it already.
I should probably know that. An extra inning game, an 11 inning game that, again, the Blue Jays had a chance to close it out in the 10th, or in the ninth, when they had bases loaded and nobody out. No, not nobody out.
1-0.
Bases loaded and 1 out, and you know, eventually ends up coming to the
Well,
point where
who was playing second for the Dodgers? Because they made a really good play
it
to
was Miguel
stop that.
Rojas.
Was that Rojas? Yeah, he made a really good play on
That
a
was right.
ball
Right, it
to
was right.
save it on an infield in to get
Yeah,
the run right home.
ground ball to Miguel Rojas. Looked
Hard
like he
hit.
was about to bobble it, or
Yeah,
looked like that was about to be the World Series right there. Throw it home. I thought we were about to get a walk-off replay
I
review
did too.
to
That toe
end the
was
World
very
Series,
close to not being on home plate.
which I almost would have hated more than what we got.
I wouldn't.
Uh, but yeah, he barely gets the out at home, and then almost like he's reading, he knows what's going to happen in the future, or a script was written for him, one of the two. Dave Roberts decides this is the time I'm going to take Tommy Edman, who has a bum ankle, out of center field, and I'm going to bring in Andy Pajes, who is normally supposed to be in the game because he's supposed to be the better hitter of the center fielders, but he's just been not a good hitter,
No.
and he was just there for an arm, and they did that with one out. My mistake.
Yeah.
So the batter before, but then fly ball in the left field.
He turns into a linebacker.
Yeah, Kike Hernandez looked like he was about to try to Willie Mays it, and then Pajes just runs him over and makes the catch to extend the game, go to extra innings. I don't know how Yamamoto was able to pitch 106 pitches or something along those lines or uh, on game 6 on Friday, I believe that was. And then Saturday is able to turn right back around and pitch 3 shutout innings. And it all leads into the 11th inning, top of the 11th inning.
Will Smith.
Will Smith comes in, hits the home run to give the Dodgers the lead. And then the bottom of the inning, it looked like we were going to get more baseball. Starts with a line drive in the corner by Vlad Guerrero.
Double.
Gets to second base on the double. Who was the next batter? Was that Andres Jimenez?
No.
Next batter comes in and gets a sacrifice bunt down. So we have a runner at third with one out. Sorry, I'm trying to get the Blue Jays box score up. So it was Isaiah Kiner Falefa.
There you go.
That was the next batter.
It was a beautiful bunt.
Came in for Bo Bichette. Perfect bunt to get Guerrero over to third. They walk Addison Barger to bring in Alejandro Kirk. They were mentioning hitting the 17 double plays this year.
Because he's the slowest human being on the planet.
He is not a great base runner.
Pretty sure I can crawl to first faster than he can run there.
And it's good to have him in that spot because he can put the ball in play, but it's also bad to have him in that spot because he can put the ball
in play. Yeah.
And it was ground ball to shortstop.
You knew as soon as it was hit.
As soon as it was hit, you knew the series was over. Mookie Betts able to field it, get the out at second, throw it to Freddie Freeman to finish off the game. And the Dodgers have won their third World Series in the last 6 years. Clayton Kershaw.
I hope so.
What's that?
I freaking hope so. And let's be clear, I don't count the COVID one, so it doesn't count to me.
That's fine. You cannot count it, but they
played like 12 games. I don't count that. No.
Clayton Kershaw goes out a World Series champion again, a 3-time.
Yeah, he did so much.
We thought he was going to be coming in to get the final out.
Oh, you texted me. I think they're going to put him in to close this out. I go, oh, please do, because he's going to blow it. And he was big city it, and it would have been the greatest ending of his career ever.
He was warming up as the last at-bat was going on.
It would have been the greatest day of my life. Not really, but it would have been awesome.
Yeah, the Blue Jays had a lot of opportunities. They weren't able to get it done. And now we do have to go into the winners of it. I know you have a lot to say about it. So
talk about whatever you want first, because you know how this ends for me.
You go ahead, because I think we do have a lot of the same ideas of it.
Like I said, you better freaking win it. You have a $500 million payroll with another like $500 million in deferred payments. It's an absolute joke that this is able to happen, and this is why we're going to see an MLB stoppage and a strike after the next baseball season, because you have zero parity in baseball, because the Dodgers can turn into the 90s Yankees on steroids and buy literally anybody that they want, and it's just outrageous. Like you've got like five pitchers making like $300 million, and that doesn't include a $750 million player. What's Mookie making? Like another
365.
365. Like literally, your payroll is a couple $1 billion with these full contracts. It is an absolute joke. And anyone who says, "Oh, well, other teams can spend like this," no, they can't. It is not possible. They would go bankrupt. And people would be like, well, if they just spend the revenue that they make, no, they still can't. If you spend the revenue that you make on top of what you're making, you would still. There's only like three teams in the majors that are capable of doing what the Dodgers are able to do. It is it is just ridiculous to me. Like people were pissed in the 90s because of what the Yankees did, and the Dodgers are taking it to a whole new level and then circumventing it with the deferred money. It's just outrageous what's happening right now. So, yeah, you better freaking win every World Series. You have like 100 times higher payroll than anyone else. Like, how are 75 to $125 million teams, which we have many of in baseball, going to have any chance of competing? They can't. And then you look at like, well, even those in from like 10 to 15, we're talking 140, 160 million maybe. You're still like 300 million lower than the Dodgers. So you can take over half of the payrolls, if not three-fourths of the payrolls of baseball, and double what they're spending, and it's still lower than the Dodgers. This is an absolute joke of what MLB has become. And if the Dodgers don't keep winning, every year they don't win, it's an absolute joke on them because you have literally bought the best players in baseball, and there's already talk of them going to sign Kyle Tucker this offseason and just adding another $300+ million player. Like it's gonna ruin baseball, and it has for some people already, and it's going to cause a strike after this next baseball season. I don't have much more than that because that's all I can think is it's not fun to watch baseball when you know what the outcome is. And the fact that it got this close is honestly funny that it happened. Um, and when I think about it, the Blue Jays went on a historic run. You think about the pitchers they had to go through. I know the Yankees were without Garrett Cole, but you still had to go through Rodon and Fried, and then you go through Seattle, who I think is one of the the best rotation in baseball right now, and what some of those names are going to be, and then to go through 18 pitchers deep of starters that the Dodgers are paying because they don't have a bullpen. They just put them all in the bullpen, and all of them are making $250+ million is insane that they even got that close. Um, I just can't stand buying teams. Like the Dodgers would be good without buying every player they could ever want because they have a good farm system. They have good scouts and they can bring up these players. But a lot of these players, some of them have been traded off lately because they're not panning out. They get every pitcher they ever have hurt. I just hate what's happening with baseball because you see the Dodgers spending $1 trillion and no one can compete with that.
Yeah, I think it's fairly well said. And the reason why I was, I guess, kind of laughing a little bit earlier when you're talking about, and when people in general talk about the evil empire of the New York Yankees, is that in those World Series in the 90s, like, yes, they did spend a lot of money and they brought in a lot of really good players. But the core to those World Series teams were all homegrown. Derek Jeter, Andy Pettit, Mariano Rivera, Bernie Williams, Jorge Posada, all of those guys were homegrown. So, yes, they brought in a lot of players to supplement their team. Like having Roger Clemens in your rotation is nice, but it is nothing
I
to
mean, when you go out and get Sheffield and Giambi and keep going through the list of
David Justice and
all the players they A Rod eventually that was later, but still like
but they only won one World Series with A-Rod, and they
which
only
is funny
won
to me.
and they went in that offseason where they signed like CC Sabathia and AJ Burnett and Mark Teixeira and all that, and they won the World Series in '09 from that, but they haven't even they weren't even able to go back to the World Series until 2024 after all those guys were long gone. So I don't think the evil empire of the New York Yankees lights like holds a candle to the Los Angeles Dodgers right now.
No, it doesn't.
And that's what happens when you have a team that is owned by a corporation led by multiple billionaires that have endless amounts of money, let alone, you know, Hollywood, California money. Like, there is an endless amount of money there that, like you said, not a lot of teams can compete with
No, you've basically got.
unless you are Steve Cohen and you don't care
I
about
was going to
making
say.
profit on your team.
I was going to say the only team that can really do what the Dodgers are doing is the Mets. The Yankees to an extent, but I don't even think they can at this point.
No, they can't. The Steinbrenners were the most powerful team in terms of being able to spend in the late 90s and the 2000s and before that. That was when they were the evil empire, was the
Yeah.
70s and the 80s when they were going and signing Dave Winfield and Reggie Jackson. Um, but the Steinbrenners are not that powerful now. And, you know, thing about the Padres too, Peter Seidler, very capable of spending money.
He's
He did not,
trying.
he did
He
not
still
care.
can't compete with that.
Well, I would say he didn't. Peter Seidler didn't care about making a profit on his team. He cared about winning. And then when he passed away, they cared more about his family cared more about making money.
Well, I mean, they kind of didn't because they almost went bankrupt and had to take out loans to pay for their payroll. Like,
Are you sure you're not thinking of the Spanoses with the San
oh,
Diego?
I am.
Yeah.
I am thinking of the Spanos. Gosh.
I say right now, I think they're in some sort of dispute on the
Yes, they are in a
majority
dispute.
owner of the team
Ownership.
is going to
Yeah.
be, which it makes sense why they are not spending a whole lot of money right now. But that
Because they
just
don't know
takes
who's in charge.
yeah, it just takes another team out. And again, you're talking about now they're going to be big players for Kyle Tucker after having the most expensive pitching rotation in baseball, having Freddie Freeman, having Mookie Betts playing shortstop because they just need to find places to fit all of these guys. And they're very good at bringing up their own. Yamamoto, he's on a $325 million contract. And they are very good at bringing up their own players. But
Well, here's the
I
other
do
thing.
think, again, I don't think there's any way
They're going to go after
the
Kyle
owners
Tucker.
are going to let the 2027 season play out, which that's when the
It's not going to happen. It's going to be a strike.
yeah, I don't think the owners let it happen without a salary cap, and the Players Association is never going to let that happen, especially unless there's a salary floor
Floor.
along with that, which the
And I think there should be. No one wants either of the players don't want the cap. The owners don't want a floor. Freaking compromise and make this happen. Otherwise, we're going to go on strike. And you're going to be without baseball. And it's going to be like, what was it, 93?
94
94. Where
the
it
strike
took a
the
hit.
strike that killed the Montreal Expos.
It killed the Expos. It also took a hit to the entire league. When it came back, it took years to get back to where it was. And that's what we're looking at now. Baseball's already had to change a lot in their game to keep viewership up. Like all these rules that have been implemented are to try and get younger kids and teens and young adults to stay interested in baseball and watch the games. If you go on strike and you see teams like the Dodgers and these players like, oh, we don't want a salary cap, and they're making $300+ million a year, it's gonna take a toll on the fan base to be like these greedy athletes. They don't want a salary cap when they're already making hundreds of millions of dollars. What an absolute joke! Um, and you're gonna lose fans every time there's a strike. There are fans that don't come back because they don't want to put up with it anymore. And I think when this happens, not if, when this happens, it's going to cause problems for baseball.
Yeah, I
But
agree.
I'm
Another,
just looking at the free agent market and who the Dodgers are going to go after. Like Schwarber's available, Tucker's available. Do they want a different center fielder who can hit? Cody Bellinger's available. Alex Bregman probably opts out, and Max Muncy's a free agent. Do they want to go that route? Would they rather have Eugenio Suarez for more pop? Like, there's so many players out there, and the Dodgers are going to be tied to all of them because they always are, because they can buy whoever they want.
Yeah, I mean, even when you look at this past offseason, it's crazy to me that, he's not the same player he was, but they weren't even somewhat tempted by trading for Nolan Arenado practically for free. Still the best defensive third baseman or one of the best defensive third basemen in baseball can still swing the bat a little bit at least.
Maybe they don't bring back Muncy, and they go, fine, we'll take him for the end of the career. We'll see how it goes. Kike can play wherever. We can slide guys around because we have $8 billion of players. They did they play whatever happened to Hassan Kim? Like, did he play for them at all?
He played, but he spent a lot of the season in the minor leagues.
I'm like, you have a guy that you paid what $50 million or something to, who's never sniffed the majors, who's you're paying a $50 million minor leaguer.
He was on the World Series roster, I think. Maybe he
Didn't
was.
touch the field.
Did he
If he
not?
was, if he was on the roster, he didn't touch the field. But again, that's what I'm talking about. No team could sign a guy like that and let them just play the whole season in the minors, basically. And he can come play second, third, short, whatever you need him.
Yeah, and the closest I saw to a strike, quote unquote, was the work stoppage that happened a couple years ago,
And
uh,
that didn't last long.
before the last collective bargaining agreement, and it ended during spring training, like
Yeah.
when spring training was supposed to happen. I think it pushed the season back a little bit, but we still played 162 games.
And you
1994,
lost some fans then.
yeah, 1994. They lost games on the back end because of the strike. They didn't have a playoffs. It was the first year they didn't have a World Series since 1903. 1995, we lost games on the front end of the season because of it. Um, and 1998, the year that Mark McGuire and Sammy Sosa went on that home run race that was fueled by steroids,
It saved baseball.
is what saved baseball. And I don't think we're getting that again.
No.
Because, we're getting to the point to where 50 plus 60 home runs is getting to be commonplace. And it's coming from strikeouts, and home runs are not going to save baseball anymore. And so I'm scared for what it will look like after this collective bargaining agreement ends in 2027, and what the next few years beyond that's going to look like, because I think it's going to take a lot of people losing a lot of money before something gives, and I feel like
Well,
it
that's
will.
what it's going to take. Like, if you look at '94 strike, just estimates that it cost approximately $580 million in revenue for major leagues, and it cost $230 million in player salaries, and that was in '94. So we're talking 32 years later when this is going to happen. Um, Basically triple those numbers.
Yeah.
So you're talking over $1.5 billion that baseball would lose, and almost $900 million that players would lose. That's a bad look, and it's gonna happen. So for you baseball fans, you're like, it's not gonna happen. They'll figure it out. No, it's going to happen because both sides are very stubborn and will not budge on these issues. So
Yeah.
94 was the first time since 1904 that there was not a World Series. Um, we had a chase going on that Tony Gwynn could have been the first player to hit 400. Um,
Hit 394 that year, I believe.
yeah, and the end of the season was canceled. World Series was canceled first time since '04. You know,
If
it
that season plays out, the Montreal Expos I think are still a thing.
probably, and honestly, baseball keeps talking expansion. Toronto, Montreal probably needs another team to go back there. as much as I don't like Canada
Yeah.
because I'm a hockey fan and I'm an American. Um, it's the whole city, the whole not the whole city, the whole country was behind Toronto. Like if you watch hockey games, it didn't matter where it was in Canada. Players were coming in with Blue Jays jerseys on. Like the whole country was behind Toronto. Um, and you're talking about an entire country here. You can split that into two teams, bring back Montreal, and it would thrive.
Yeah.
Bring in
I
Nashville, bring in Montreal. There's your two teams added. We've got our 32. Numbers work perfectly. Re realign the divisions because I
which
we
we
already
already did.
we already think
We
it
did it
needs to
for
be
them.
done. Yep, we did it. Not for those teams, but
We did it for
um,
Nashville. I think we did it for Nashville and Salt Lake
Salt
City,
Lake
or for
or
Portland
yeah.
or something.
But it works for Montreal. It's fine.
Yeah.
But it would be a good thing for baseball, and I think honestly that might be something like when it goes on strike, coming out of it with an agreement that maybe we're going to have two expansion teams. Um, would be that thing that would have to save baseball, like the excitement from that.
Yeah, it's definitely something we're gonna have to monitor going forward. I am again concerned for our sport because was there? Am I going crazy or was there a hockey strike like not all that long ago, like 15
Um,
years ago?
NHL strike was nine.
I thought it was like 2010 or something like that.
I mean, there was a 2012, 2013 lockout,
Okay.
or no, 04, 05. Like it had. Listen, as a hockey fan, it almost derailed the NHL.
And I'm only
It
bringing
was
that
hard.
I'm only bringing that up because for as much money as we're talking about for the NHL, it's pennies compared to what you're talking
Oh,
about.
for sure. I mean, you're
So
talking the biggest contract in the NHL was just signed, and it's $17 million a year.
yeah. So
And you've got pitchers and Shohei making $70 million. Like it's not even relatively close
yeah, so it's scary for what the future of baseball is. We're
because
gonna have
we
to
have
keep
a
an eye
salary
on.
cap, and it's like
Um,
$95 million.
yeah, but I want to get off of that topic because I don't want to think about
It's
the
gonna
effects
happen.
on that right now.
Well,
Uh,
and the other thing is when we start talking now, it's we're in the off season now, right? We're gonna start talking free agency.
how
Where
many of these
going?
top 10 free agents are going to sign with the Dodgers?
That well, and also, how are teams going to sign free agents with them thinking there's going to be a lockout next year? I think it takes a significant hit on this market of what teams are willing to give them because if there's a lockout, they don't want to pay these guys.
Yeah. And also, what does it mean for guys that are already under contract?
Yeah, there might be trades, people getting moved because they don't, you know, well, this guy's 34. If we go into lockout, he's got 3 more years on his deal. He's coming back with a year or two left on his deal at 38 now. Like, do I want that?
Even if you look at the present day value of Shohei Ohtani's contract, which I believe is in the ballpark of $47 million a year. Um,
Two,
huh?
two. That's
Two
all they're
what?
paying him. $2 million.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying between
Bull crap.
in terms of what it does to the salary cap, which
Oh yeah, I don't know what it
pre-
does.
present day value is 40 some odd $1 million. I believe it's around 47 million. No one is able to if there's going to be a salary cap, no one's going to be able to afford a $47 million a year player. Especially
And there's
considering
several.
especially considering, you're going to have to pay him beyond that contract.
Like, let's be realistic here. What? What? Let me. I haven't even looked at this. I just thought about it. Los Angeles Dodgers salary cap. Let's see if salary hit. I don't know what they want to call it.
Payroll
It's
or
payroll. It's $350 million. That's insane. First of all, like there's the luxury tax, and then there's the next threshold of the luxury tax, and then there's the Dodgers 7 luxury tax later, basically.
I
and they
think
don't even care.
yeah, I think the first luxury tax threshold hits at like 230, which I imagine that is roughly where the salary cap would be, maybe a little bit higher.
Would be at what?
I think the first luxury tax threshold is roughly 230 or 240. I think it might the if there's a salary cap, it might be a little bit higher, call it like 275-ish. If that,
If
somewhere
it's
between
two,
250 to 275.
I think 250
Uh
is where it should be.
it
275
I'm
seems excessive right now. And if it were 250, there would be five teams over it right now. But the Mets would be 91 million over, and the Dodgers are 100 million over. And then after that, the next one, the Yankees at 54, the Phillies would be 40, and the Blue Jays would be 5. Like, there's two teams that are head and shoulders spending 40 to 50 million dollars more per year than the next highest. And then if you look at number 10 is the Chicago Cubs. The Dodgers have $140 million more on their payroll than the Chicago Cubs. You're talking about the third or fourth highest market in the majors.
and the only reason why the Mets are up there with the
It's
Dodgers is
because Steve Cohen is a psychopath.
well, it's because Juan Soto's contract doesn't have the deferrals that Shohei's does. So
That's a stupid contract.
he is actually making around $50 million a year. Like he is making more on like his salary hit is more than Shohei Otani's. So yeah,
I'm
it
just looking at big
I
markets and their payroll, like Boston, huge market, $200 million on the dot. Like that's 150 million more. That's almost double the payroll of the Boston Red Sox.
and then meanwhile, let's look at the bottom of that list.
Okay, from number 18 on, you can literally double the payroll, and it would be the Dodgers or less.
Yeah. I mean,
And
is
that
the
is
Pirates last 30
no,
in
the
the
Marlins are
30s?
last. The Marlins are at
Is it in the 30s?
67.7
Okay.
million. Then the A's at
It's not as bad as
78.
I thought.
No, the A's at 78. White Sox at 78 and a half. Pirates at 84 and a half. Tampa at 87 and a half. 25 Cleveland at 100 on the dot. 24 is Washington at 109 and a half. 23 is Cincinnati at 119. Milwaukee at 121. Colorado at 125.8. Number 20, Minnesota at 129. 19, the Cardinals at 131.
So all of the bottom 10 teams probably have room to double their payroll.
The bottom 10, so 30 through 20, yeah, could all double their payroll. The bottom 9, Milwaukee,
If we're making 250 the number.
yeah, Colorado's at 125, so, and they're number 21. Could double their payroll, not
Okay.
forced to, but I also think when we talk about this, there, if we set a payroll, there has to be a minimum, and I think the minimum needs to be like 125. Like you need to spend 125 up to 250 because
And
125
again,
brings up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 teams. 9 teams would have to bump their payroll, and the ninth one is Milwaukee would only need to bring it up by $4 million, but Miami would have to almost double their payroll because they're at 67 million.
well, again, if we're going off of the number, like if we're going off of roughly what baseball has in place right now, there is a certain tax that you also have to pay if you are under $100 million to your payroll for 3 straight years, which the Oakland A's or the whatever they are A's had to pay, I believe, this year
Yeah,
because
because they're only at 78 this year.
yeah, I think this past year was the third year they were under that, which is why they signed Luis Severino, and it's an absolute disaster because
Yeah,
they
it
hate
is.
Luis Severino and Luis Severino hates them.
Um, 241 million is the luxury tax threshold this year.
Okay, so yeah, probably by that point, probably 250,
It
255.
it went up 2022 230, 23 33, 24 37, 25 41. So it goes up 3 to 4 million dollars a year. So next year you're probably looking at 244, 245. Or and then 2027 when the strike is going to happen, it would be almost 250 where we could just call our hard cap.
Yeah, and then do you think it would continue to go up like the luxury tax does, like $3 to $4 million every year?
I don't know. At some point, it's got to stop, right?
I would imagine, but also
Like if it's
inflation is a thing.
if
Like
it's a couple $1 million a year, or like every 5 years it goes up a little
'cause
bit.
every sport has a way to cover inflation of like
Yeah.
every
Well, I'm just gonna
it
keep
goes
comparing
up
it.
every couple years.
Yeah, I'm just gonna compare it to the NHL because that's what I know the best. Um, the NHL
I don't know much
payroll,
about the NFL's salary cap because it's
yeah,
fake.
it's weird. Um, I want to get the last several years just to make sure I'm not wrong. All right, here we go. So the last several years, it's been a flat cap coming out of COVID, and I want to say it just went up several $1 million, and it's going to continue to go up the next few years. Um, was at $81.5 million for 3 or 4 straight years. Didn't go up coming out of COVID, um, and then this year was the first year of the increased cap, and it's $88 million. So we went up $6.5 million this year. But again, this was a flat cap for about 5 years, and before that, it's been between like 76 and $81 million for a decade. Um, and this was the first year it went up to $88 million. Next year, it's going up to 92. Um, and then after that, we're going to look at 104, 113 and a half. So over the next 4 5 years, it's going to go from where it was up to 113. Like that's significant. Um, but we're also talking about a cap of $113 million in like 5 years from now, whereas baseball we're talking double that
More than that.
for basically the same roster size.
Uh, I mean, you got to pay. Are we?
No, minors are not included in this.
They're not included. Okay.
No, the whole minor system is different with hockey of what's being paid if you're up or down and one way
It's
versus two-way contracts. Like that all changes. And I know baseball pays their minor leaguers like crap anyway. So
it's gotten
uh,
better over the past few years.
yeah, well, that was part of a huge ordeal too a couple of years ago. Um, was that part of the work stoppage? That
Yeah.
I thought so. Um, but yes, I do think it could rise. Um, but like I said, the hockey one, like this is the most significant cap increase we have ever seen in the NHL by a lot. But like I said, for 10 to 15 years, we had an increase of like $5 million. Um, but when you think about that in relativity to the size of the cap, you go up $5 million over 10 years. Well, what's $5 million on a $81 million cap? Like that's a decent chunk still. So I think yes, there is room to move the cap if they set it like this. Like if they go up 5 years from now and they're like, hey, let's move it to 275 or 10 years or every 3 years or something. They're like, we're going to add $5 million every 2 years. Cool. We at least know what it's going to be, and teams know what it's going to be, so they can one plan for it, and two, you don't have this mega competitive disadvantage. Yes, there will be teams at 125 and there will be teams at 250, but that still puts everybody within $100 million of each other, not like what it is right now where there are teams literally almost $300 million lower.
Yeah, it's definitely a very a very touchy situation, and hopefully, as we get closer to that point, we at least get some sort of answers to it. But I want to go ahead and move on because now that the World Series has ended, we are in the off season, and off season things are starting to happen. And I want to end this podcast on uh, the managerial hirings that we haven't talked about. So I had a list up here. I think I lost it. No, I don't. I didn't. Okay. So there have been quite a few that we haven't talked about. So the there and a lot of them are very interesting. So I believe the first one was the Angels.
Kurt
The
Suzuki.
Angels hired Kurt Suzuki. Now the interesting part about this is it is a 1 year deal, and it is going hand in hand with Perry Manazian, I believe is pronounced.
It's such a stupid deal.
And the reason why, to be absolutely frank, is because Artie Moreno doesn't know if he's going to extend Perry Manazian. And
Can we just go put it out there? Are the Los Angeles Angels like the equivalent of the Dallas Cowboys? They'll never win until their owner dies or sells the team.
possibly.
Because Artie Moreno is a joke of a owner.
And Artie Moreno is a lot younger than Jerry Jones.
Yeah,
Um,
he
so
wants to have complete control and say, and he doesn't know what he's doing.
yeah, and that so we talked a lot about the potential of the Angels hiring Albert Pujols as their manager. The reason why they didn't is because, again, one, Artie doesn't know if he's going to extend Perry Manazian, and whoever his GM is, he wants him to be able to have his manager, like his choice of manager. And Albert Pujols is not going to accept a 1 year deal. Also, Albert wanted his own coaching staff, and Artie wasn't willing to do that. He wants control over what the 2020, at least what the 2026 season looks like. Because Ron Washington got his own coaching staff. But
Mm-hmm.
again, with where the Angels are right now as an organization, they had to go with a guy that didn't have as much negotiating power.
Yeah.
So
Well,
they
where
went,
they are right now as an organization, have you seen how they've drafted forever under Marty Moreno? They're never going to get out of this with the way they draft.
yeah, it's not good. And again, I think that's the whole Perry Manazian of it, and it's probably a big reason why they're hiring a manager again on a 1 year deal. The off season after, or two off seasons after, they hired Ron Washington. I believe it. Ron Washington was only there for 1 year, correct?
One or two, I can't remember.
He was on a two
But
year deal, but I think it was
but then he
last.
had the medical issues where he had to leave.
Yeah. So I believe we might be looking at next offseason the Angels having their third consecutive manager search. The
Terrible.
Angels are a mess. And I feel bad for Kurt Suzuki, this being the situation that it's his
He's gonna
first
get screwed
year.
over.
Because Kurt Suzuki's the kind of guy that I think would be a good big league manager. He was a catcher for a long time. He had to know every aspect of the game. He had to know how to deal with all different kinds of people being behind the plate. He's very knowledgeable about the game, and it's going to look bad. And this might be a 1 year thing, and it might be his only chance. So,
He's young. He'll get another chance. Everyone knows what a joke the Angels are as an organization, and if he gets screwed over, people will know that. Um, and people like catchers as managers from the way they think the game, and they know how to kind of handle pitchers and a bullpen because they've already done it. So as much as I think this is a bad situation for Kurt Suzuki or honestly anyone who were to take this job, I think a young former catcher is someone that will get another chance if and when it goes sideways, like I expect it to.
Yeah, he's 42 years old. Of all the managers that have been hired this offseason, I believe he's the second youngest. So, and I believe he's the third or fourth youngest manager in baseball right now. So again, hopefully everything can work out for him. But
Um, Before you go to the next one, speaking of Albert, when he gets the job in San Diego, how upset are you going to be when he picks his own staff and Yachty's on it?
I won't because they've already announced that one, they've already announced that Yachty will not be on the Cardinals coaching staff next year, and
They
two,
said he won't be a full time coach.
yeah, it it's at most going to be what he was this year if he's
Yeah,
not on the Padres coaching staff next year. But also, he kind of rubbed me the wrong way with how everything went the past few years with him being
yeah,
in the front office and wa-
never being here.
him wanting to manage but not wanting to put in the work for it. Because
Yeah,
Albert, little peek behind the curtain, part of his Angels contract was a 10-year service clause to where after he retired, he still works for the Angels and he still works
yeah,
in the
and
front
I think that
office.
was part of the reason he didn't want to go to the Angels too, was because they were like, "Well, we're already paying you $1 million, like just coach on that salary," and he's like, "Yeah, that's not going to happen."
Yeah. So uh, we've talked about the Angels too much.
Yeah,
the
they're
Angels, the
garbage
Angels,
dumpster of a team.
ever since Albert's time with the Angels, it's irked me. He's made the play. They made the playoffs one time with him and Mike Trout, and then
And Shohei.
When you add Shohei Ohtani to that, those three never made the playoffs
And
together.
they gave out the worst contract in the history of baseball, so
Yeah,
they're still paying for that
and
one.
then cut Albert when he proved with both the Dodgers and the Cardinals he was still capable of being a good Major League Baseball player.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to the next one. And again, a very weird one that I like a lot less than Kurt Suzuki. Um, the San Francisco Giants.
I
Now,
like this one more than you do.
yeah, so and it's not.
I'm in. I'm in on this one.
I don't dislike it for the reason that you think I dislike it for.
Kyle hates Tennessee.
I hate Tennessee, but also Tony Vitello's a Mizzou guy.
Yeah.
The Giants hired Tony Vitello as their new manager. He has been the head coach of University of Tennessee's baseball program for the last 3 or 4 years. And the reason why I don't like it is because this is a guy who has never been in a professional dugout and a professional clubhouse. He has been. I want to try and pull up Tony Vitello's work experience because it's all college. He's never played professional baseball. He's never coached professional baseball. His path, he was a player at the University of Missouri. Then in 2002, he became a assistant for Salinas, which is a collegiate summer ball team. He was then an assistant coach at the University of Missouri from 2003 to 2010. Moved over to TCU from 2011 2013. Moved over to Arkansas from 2014 2017 at the exact same spot. He was an assistant coach for all those teams. Then finally gets a head coaching job in 2018 as the head coach of the Tennessee Volunteers. So been there for a little bit. Won a national championship in 2024. Two-time SEC uh, regular season champion. Two-time SEC tournament champion. He's a very good college coach. It is a very different ball game in college baseball and in professional baseball. And again, I just find it hard to believe. I know the guy that hired him was Buster Posey. Buster Posey knows what he's talking about. I find it odd that they're putting this guy as the leader of a clubhouse of a professional clubhouse that he's never been a part of, and he's taking a pay cut to do it. That is my gripe for it. And he's going to have a very experienced coaching staff around him, as he should. Why are one of those guys not just the manager if they're teaching him how to manage?
because they want young talent. They want a guy who's proven he can win. They want a guy who has worked with young kids. Yes, they've got a decently veteran staff and veteran team, but I just think it goes a long way of taking a guy who's been teaching. I think that gets lost in MLB managers nowadays. They're just analytical robots to whatever the front office tells them, and there's no teaching that goes on. I'm not a fan of what MLB managers have become. Like I hate the DH. I hate what it's made baseball. It took all strategy out of the game. Um, I just don't like what it is, and I think that bringing in a college manager who's had to teach the game and who has to go into homes and recruit kids to come play for his school. I think that can be an asset when it comes to recruiting MLB players. Like, yeah, you're on the coast, so you have an advantage to recruit these guys, but I think he's somebody who's comfortable in doing those things, and that could become an advantage. Plus, you're getting a young guy who's easily moldable that Buster Posey can turn into whatever he wants him to be. Um, and he's a winner.
Well, for starters, you said, yes, he is on the coast, but he doesn't have an advantage in recruiting these big league players because San Francisco's had issues with getting people to want to
Yeah.
play for the
And
Giants.
maybe that's why they need him.
I don't think having Tony Vitello versus, Bob Melvin, someone who's been around the block a few times.
Do you think Bob Melvin cares to go recruit these players?
Well, no, but that's not the manager's job. It's not going to be Tony Vitello's job.
I guarantee when they bring in a player to have a meeting, some of these big players that have opted out and not gone there, you bring in Tony Vitello who gets to sit there at the dinner table with them and talk shop, and it's not this old dude who doesn't care about recruiting or doesn't even show up, could make a difference.
I'll I will give you
You
this.
see a long term future with that coach. If you're going to sign an 8-year deal, you want to know who you're playing for. You want to know that they're going to be there, that they're not going to retire, that they're not had multiple stops where they've been awful. It shows you kind of a future and where you're going to be for the next 8 years for some of these big guys signing contracts. I think that can be an advantage.
And I'll give you this. Tony Vitello, very personable, a very likable guy, and I I don't think him as a person is going to be an issue with buy-in. And again, maybe I'm overthinking it. It's it's just weird for me to see these big leaguers taking advice from a guy who's never it's it was always it's always a talking point whenever there is a manager who has never played Major League Baseball before. I don't understand how that is a talking point every time one of these guys get hired, and it's not a talking point for a guy who has never passed the college ranks in any way. And
I
you
think
talk about
I
you
think it
talk
has
about
been a talking point though.
I haven't heard a lot of it. I've heard a lot of hype about Tony Vitello, and
I
he's
mean,
very
I think there has been hype about it because it's something that's new, but I definitely think questions have been raised about it. I mean, there was a manager in the World Series just yesterday who's never played a game of Major League Baseball.
well, yeah, but he's
I mean,
also
John
been
Schneider played a little bit of minor leagues and then went into coaching very early.
Yeah, but he's also been coaching for a while, and he again has at least been in professional environments before. And the college ranks are getting a lot more, professionalized now with, NIL and having to deal with all that, and maybe that does bridge the gap a little bit. Um, he's also like not he's young, but he's not necessarily like one of these young guys that you consider like a young manager. He's probably middle of the pack in terms of how old. He's 47
47.
years old, probably around middle of the pack for what big league managers are nowadays. Um, I don't know. We'll have to see as the season goes on what this hiring means, but I don't understand it that much.
We can agree to disagree.
Yeah. Also, but one thing I will say, I did like his line that he was hired to be Drew Gilbert's babysitter because I think he probably was. I think that was probably a part of it.
Probably a good choice. He
Yeah.
needs a babysitter. Hey, he got the best out of Drew Gilbert there. If you can bring the best out of him in San Francisco, that's a win.
Yeah, he also might have broken the record for most times ejected by a college baseball player.
Drew Gilbert, yeah, well, you know, did he
uh,
play well? That's all that they need.
yeah. Let's move on to the Baltimore Orioles. So the Baltimore Orioles hired Craig Albernaz.
I have no opinion.
Um, I like
Never,
it. So
never heard of him.
Craig Albernaz was the associate manager last year for the Cleveland Guardians, the bench coach, um, under Stephen Vogt,
I
which
do like
means
Steve Vogt.
yeah. And let me again, I want to pull up his work experience real quick because I didn't really look too deep in that. So he has been, in terms of coaching in the big leagues, he was a coach.
Giants and Guardians.
Yeah, coach for the Giants from 2020 to 2023. Guardians. After
Well,
he was the Giants bullpen and catching coach, and then went over to the Guardians to be their bench coach. He also coached for a long time in the minor leagues. He was a minor league manager. Um, from everything that I've heard about Craig Albernaz, who just turned 43 years old, so kind of along the same lines age wise as these other guys that we've talked about. Um, very good baseball mind, very good on the pitching side of things. It is not surprising to me at all that Stephen Vogt liked him. Uh, seemed like they're very much cut from the same cloth, even though he obviously didn't have the playing career that Stephen Vogt did. Uh, I like it, especially.
Stephen Vogt and John Schneider are like the major league versions of Dan Campbell to me. So I love it. So if he's anything like that, I'm in. I just a guy that's on an AL team. I just don't get to see a lot of them. Um, so I'm just not familiar with his work. But if he's cut from the same cloth as Stephen Vogt, I'm in.
I don't know if he's necessarily cut from the same cloth, like in terms of personality.
Oh, then I'm out.
If he is, I'm all the way on the Baltimore Orioles this year.
Yeah, if he's personality wise like Stephen Vogt, I'm in. If he's not, we'll see.
Yeah, but again,
Well, I won't be all in on the Orioles until their ownership decides to spend on pitching.
well, maybe a guy that knows what he's talking about on the pitching side of things will help with that.
Yeah, maybe, but you can't give him hot garbage and expect him to turn it into something amazing.
Yeah, I don't know. I like that move, but we move on to the next one, and this one is the first guy that was hired this offseason that actually has experience managing in the big leagues before. The Minnesota Twins, for all the talk of them hiring Kurt Suzuki or them hiring Torrey Hunter, they decided to go the experience route and they hired Derek Shelton. So Derek Shelton has been a coach in the big leagues for about 20 years at this point. He coached with the Cleveland Indians. I'm trying to find what exactly roles he had.
Oh, who
So
cares?
he
He
was,
was last with Pittsburgh.
Yeah, minor league hitting coach and major league hitting coach with the Indians, hitting coach with the Rays, uh, hitting quality control coach with the Blue Jays, and he was with the Minnesota Twins previously as their bench coach before spending the last 6 years with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Very little success, but also hasn't
Pittsburgh
really had
Pirates.
a whole lot to work with. Um, Guy from very very close to our area, grew up in Carbondale, Illinois. Played baseball at SIU Carbondale. Uh,
Listen, this Twins team, what they've torn it down to, they just need to hire Lou Brown. And if you guys don't get that reference, go watch Major League.
um, yeah.
Because this is a bad news Bears team. Like, they've got two decent players, one of which is always hurt. So I don't know what experience is getting you here. He better, like, honestly, or Tony Vitello would have been a perfect candidate for me here in Minnesota because you're basically teaching a bunch of kids how to play the game at this point.
So I think what this is it's kind of a Kurt Suzuki esque situation.
Oh, he's not going to be there long term.
Well, I don't think Kurt Suzuki is either. I think this is a guy that can be
Placeholder.
a fine placeholder while the team is bad, while they're also looking for
A long term solution.
yeah. So, guy 55 years old hasn't played a whole lot or hasn't had a
One.
whole lot of success coaching or as a
He's going to
manager.
continue to not have success as a manager.
Yeah. Um, that's about all I have to say for this.
Speaking of which, are they going to trade Joe Ryan?
Hopefully, I don't want to
That
see him
team's so bad.
dealing.
Hey, hey, I believe St. Louis has a lot of prospects and need a pitcher or seven.
I will give you one Jimmy Crooks for him.
I will give you a Tink Hence as well. Maybe some other guys.
Sold. So the last manager that was hired, a very interesting one in my mind. So the Washington Nationals,
Ooh.
they hired Blake Butera as their manager. Now, Blake Butera is 33 years old, doesn't turn 34 until August.
I'm older than him.
Yeah. He is the youngest manager in Major League Baseball since 1972. So we're talking over 50 years. He is the youngest manager in baseball, obviously. Ali Marmol was that record holder right now, or was that record holder until he was hired. And he spent a lot of his career with the Tampa Bay Rays. He was drafted by them and played 2 seasons in their minor league system and then 2018, at the age of 25 years old, he was the manager of their low A team, who was the youngest manager in minor league baseball at that point, which he was younger than I am now when he was named the manager of the Hudson Valley Renegades. He has then bounced around in different roles in Tampa Bay system between, the player development side and the coaching in the minor leagues. Um, Guy with a lot of experience in a very good organization. It's a very odd hire to me, but I don't hate it.
I don't know. I don't know about this one. Um, it's hard. Washington's a very young team, so I get for the personal side of it. Um, but this is also a team where you've got a lot of prospects that have been prospects for a while now that should be starting to take the next step. So I don't know. This one,
It gives me
eh?
it gives me Sean McVay ish vibes. which I think there were a lot of people that were questioning when I believe he was hired by the Los Angeles Rams in their first year as the Los Angeles Rams, or their second year as Los Angeles Rams, because their first year was the last year of Jeff Fisher. Uh, yeah.
Thanks for getting us out of St. Louis. Thank you.
um, yeah, it gives me Sean McVay esque vibes because he was only 29 years old when he was hired as the head coach of the Rams, and he came from a very good coaching tree, from the Shanahan coaching tree, but you know, not a lot of people really knew who he was, and turned into the best coach in the NFL. And by the way, still the youngest head coach in the NFL, as I believe.
It's
Uh,
39.
yeah, he's been coaching for 10 years, or a head coach in the NFL for 10 years. Um, Blake Butera kind of gives me that vibe. The Rams were bad when Sean McVay took over, and they became really good really quick. So uh, the only other team that we've really, I think, heard from besides the ones we talked about is the Padres are between their last three ish finalists. It's Albert Pujols, it's Nick Hundley, it's Ruben Niebla. They have two external candidates. They have a current coach for them, a former player, and one of the
Albert Pujols.
greatest players of all time. I hope it goes to Albert because I enjoy the Padres, and I've enjoyed them with Mike Schilt as their manager. I'd like to continue to enjoy them, and I'd like to continue to root for them. He also knows a lot about controlling big heads, and there's a lot of those in that locker
Have we talked about Mike Schilt since that happened?
room. So Mike Schilt retired from the Padres, which is a
Retired
very
from the
odd
Padres.
situation.
He forcibly resigned
Yeah.
and
He
called it a retirement.
There's been a lot of reports about him not necessarily being the greatest guy to be around or the greatest personality to be around. Um,
Especially as a coach on the staff.
yeah, and it has kind of made a lot more things around the philosophical differences in St. Louis come to light. It's the fact that John Mozeliak just hated him.
Yeah.
Um, and maybe a lot of his coaches did too. He seemed to be someone who is very perfectionist, and
My way or the highway.
yeah, and if you didn't get in line, he would let you know about it. I still think Mike Schultz was a great manager.
You know what he did do though?
What was that?
He won.
He won. Yeah. I think.
Something that they have not done since Schilt has left.
Yeah, I think Mike Schultz is a great manager still. He says he's never going to be a big league manager again.
Well, that's because no one's going to hire him.
I disagree. I think there's still going to be people that are willing to hire. The Padres were willing to hire him after he was already in their organization. I think probably kind of knowing how he is and not really realizing what they were getting into, but they knew how he is.
They knew some of the things, but they didn't know what it would be when he was in charge.
The Cardinals also hired him as their manager,
Okay,
despite him being
here's
a
this.
minor league manager for 30 years.
This is what I think. I think one in the minors you can hide a lot of stuff. Um, Two, I think both organizations they had him in the organization before, but he was not in charge. He wasn't running the show. He had to kind of fall in line with the manager. Maybe he had his opinions and they butted heads sometimes, but I don't think either organization knew the extent of how bad it was going to be until he was put in charge and they saw kind of crazy control freak that he was. Um, yeah, reports were basically he would have screaming matches with other or not managers with other coaches on the staff if they didn't agree with him, if they didn't follow his way, if things weren't done exactly and perfectly how he wanted them to do. Um, so yeah, just not a great work environment for anyone.
Yeah, I
And
still
I like Schulte as a Cardinals fan. Like he was a great manager for us. I loved the fire. I loved everything that he said in post press conferences. I like how he managed the team, but you can't do that if you want to be a professional.
Yeah, I definitely think at some point soon he's going to get hired in some sort of player development role because that is what he has been best at throughout his entire
Very good.
career. As great of a manager as he was, um, I still think if he wants it at any point, he can get a
Yeah.
manager job.
Well, anybody who um, like lives and breathes by the influences that he had in the Cardinals organization.
George
Uh,
Sisler.
yeah, between him and Larusso, like if those are your influences of how you base what you do around,
He was a
um,
he was a George he was with George Sisler, wasn't he? Maybe I'm
yeah, he was,
I know
he was.
he was with the Orioles for a while too, like working when Cal Ripken Jr. was in the minor leagues. Um, or like was a bat boy for them or something when Cal Ripken Jr. was in the minor leagues. Uh, been around a lot of really great baseball
Yeah,
minds.
but he would go on record all the time and talk about you know George Kissel and Tony
George
La
Kissel,
Russa.
that's it. That's
Yeah,
why I was. George
yeah.
Sisler is a little bit older than
I
that.
know. I was like, that's not quite right. But yeah, George Kissel and was like his big influence of how he instructed. And anyone who grew up in that time will tell you like that's what made the Cardinals great through all of those years and the Whitey ball and even past then, all the fundamentals and how things were done is he's like I watched Kissel and Larussa and that's what I base my stuff around. So you've got two amazing influences with him, um, and I think he does a good job of bringing that out in players.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm
Maybe
hoping.
just use that with your staff as well.
Yeah, yeah, I'm hoping for the best for Schulte. Whatever he wants in baseball, whatever route he wants to go, I'm sure he'll get those opportunities. And I'd like the Cardinals to bring him back as a some sort of an advisor
They
because
won't.
again, I think he's really good with. Maybe they will with Mosaic being gone.
But is Mozeliak gone?
He currently doesn't have a role with the Cardinals. Um, but yeah, they're between three guys with three very different roles. And Nick Hundley played for them for a long time. Ruben Niebla has been there since Bob Melvin came in as their manager in 2022, which the fact they're already on their third manager search since 2022 is yikes. And then again, a guy that Albert Pujols that demands respect every time he walks into a room, let alone a baseball dugout.
I mean,
So
you're talking potentially the greatest player of all time.
yeah, so I don't think you can really go wrong. I think Albert or Nick Hundley would probably be a better option than Ruben Niebla.
I agree.
Great pitching coach, by the way. I'll say that he's an amazing pitching coach. I don't know how that's going to work out as a manager.
I really hope they hire Nick Hundley
Why?
because that gives Chaim Bloom 1 year with Mozeliak to decide he wants Albert.
I think Chaim Bloom really likes Ollie.
See, here's the thing. I really like Ollie too. I think he catches a lot of crap here in St. Louis because they haven't been good.
He's
But
caught
that's
crap from you too.
no, he has. But when I look back, and I will be the first to admit, I have been an Ollie hater at times. John Mozeliak set him up for failure. Like you can only do so much, and I think he has handled it well. And I think his players love him. Um, and so, someone who works as hard as he does, and the players really like, if you get an ownership group that is willing to supply him with what he needs, which all actions of Hyde and Bloom have showed us they are going to do that with all these extra hires through the development system, through international scouting, through all of these things, investing in the pitching stuff that we haven't had for decades that everyone else has. Like, it seems like he's putting things in place where they need to go. I think he'll be good once he gets those things that he needs. So I am not an Ollie hater anymore. I had my moments, but I will be the first to admit I think he is a good manager. I think he does a good job handling the bullpen, and the players like him. So as much as I like him, I really want to see Albert back in St. Louis. There's just something about it that just baseball, Cardinals, like the fans, with how bad things have been, they need something. And I think Albert would be that something. That would, no matter what happens, no matter how bad it is next year, no matter if there's a lockout, if the next thing that they do is name Albert Pujols the manager of the St. Louis Cardinals, the city of St. Louis will be back to baseball heaven.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's gonna happen though, and I'm
I
fine.
don't either.
I'm fine with it not happening. I also like Ollie. I still think we would have been in better shape if Mike Schilt was still the manager of the Cardinals.
Or what if we had hired Skip Schumacher to be the manager?
Also, a better, I think, probably the best option of
Skip is a
them.
stud.
But
Miami's stupid for letting him go. Texas is going to be fantastic.
yeah, but I like Ollie, and I think all signs probably point to Albert being the manager of the Padres,
I agree.
considering everyone involved has said Yadier Molina will not be a coach on the Cardinals coaching staff next year. It seems like he will be a coach on the Padres coaching staff.
I
And
think he's going to be their bench coach.
yeah, and also Albert Pujols had a 9.5 hour interview
That's insane.
that lasted so long.
He couldn't be on MLB Network.
He no showed MLB Network because he was supposed to be covering the World Series. And he missed his job on TV covering the World Series on MLB Network.
9.5 hours is insane.
He probably got fired from MLB Network.
Well, he doesn't care. He's going to be the next manager of the Padres.
I would
So
say you have to.
I think the real question, like in that, to me, that 9.5 hour interview is them deciding he's going to be the coach and them kind of interviewing him for what he wants to do with his staff. Hey, who do you want to bring in? What do you think about this? What are your opinions on that?
Yadier
If we do
Molina and Adam Wainwright and Chris
dude,
Carpenter
oh my gosh. If it's the whole freaking Cardinals organization,
and
I will lose my mind.
Alan
I don't
Craig,
think
all of these.
it's not going to happen. I can tell you this right now: Adam Wainwright's not going to go be their pitching coach.
He won't. Chris Carpenter might.
He that he
And
should be their pitching coach.
and Alan Craig, who's already in the Padres organization, might end up being on the coaching staff too. And who knows?
What, hitting coach?
Huh? In
Hitting
some
coach?
in some form. He's currently in the front office, but there was talks
Well,
of him being Mike Schultz's bench coach before
well,
Mike.
I'm just thinking if Yachty's going to come be a bench coach, and let's say you bring in Chris Carpenter because we're just going to live out this St. Louis dream right now, and he becomes the pitching coach. You need a batting coach. Who's going to be your hitting coach? Oh, I got an idea.
Walls.
I've got an idea. Mark McGuire.
I've got a better idea. Matt Holliday.
Don't. I mean, I'm a Holiday hater, so that's fine.
Both of his kids are in the
I'm
big
not
leagues
okay.
at this point.
I think Matt Holliday was an overrated Cardinals player. He was good. He was not as good as everyone made him out to be. And people, friends still to this day, TC, if you're watching, will be the first one to call me out on being a Matt Holliday hater. He is an excellent human being, and I really like Matt Holliday as a person. I just think he was overrated and overly loved as a Cardinals player. He was a good player. He was not a superstar that people made him out to be. Sorry.
He knows a lot about the game though, and he knows a lot about hitting, and he would be
Well, he was supposed to be on the Cardinals staff, and I'm pretty sure he saw what a dumpster fire it was becoming. Was like, yeah, I'm out. I'm going to stay with my
he
kid
was
in Oklahoma
supposed to be the
State.
bench coach, which
And
doesn't really. He bench coaches in the big leagues are schedule makers, and that is it.
yeah, but you're putting a guy that can
Schedule makers and
talk to hitters and batter like it. He would maybe he's a bench coach, but he's also somebody who can put input into every aspect of the game.
yeah, which I
I
think
mean, he's on the Oklahoma, is it Oklahoma State staff
yeah,
with his brother?
Yeah, his
Like,
brother's the head coach.
yeah, I want to watch my kids play. Cool. That wasn't the ultimate reason you said no after you had already said yes. Like, come on now.
Yeah. Uh, I think
Ooh,
I
you
want.
know who else? I love watching him and Lance Lynn do the podcast. Bring Lance Lynn on for somebody as a
Oh my
pitching
God. We're getting too deep in the woods.
bulldog, baby.
And
No one's more of a bulldog than Chris Parker, though. I'm all in on him. Bring him in.
we're getting so deep in the woods because even though the baseball season's over, there's still so much stuff to talk about, and we're excited to talk about it. And we're
We
excited.
didn't even talk about Gold Gloves that were announced tonight.
We'll talk about those. We might do a whole awards episode at some point, or maybe we'll just talk about the Gold Gloves next week. But the reason why we're rambling so much
I
about
gotta go live when Big Dumper wins the MVP.
the reason why we're rambling so much about this is because there's still exciting stuff to talk about with baseball. So even though the World Series is over, and even though we are going into the off season, we are still going to have episodes. We're going to
My
get a little
favorite
bit
time of the
creative
year.
too. You know, we're probably going to have a lot more fun episodes, and there's not a whole lot of stuff to talk about. Talk
Maybe
about
we'll
our
do division
personal
breakdowns.
stuff. Like we'll talk about our own personal stuff.
Oh,
You know,
will we?
tier some sort of tier list type thing.
We're gonna talk about my
Well,
awful diet that I hate life because of.
maybe not. Maybe in another one. Uh, talk about our own baseball opinions and our favorite players and stories from our childhoods when it comes to baseball. You
I've
know,
got one about mine.
I've already told one on this episode. We're gonna get creative, and it's because we love sports and we love you guys for listening to us ramble for a 30-minute podcast that turned into a 100-minute long podcast. So,
I
thank
told you what was gonna happen.
Yeah, to be fair, I tried to give you multiple outs, and then you wanted to talk about payroll and luxury tax threshold.
Their fault.
They're
Freaking Dodgers.
they're
Freaking Dodgers.
they're important. I'll probably
No,
put
they're not. I hate them.
I'll probably put some timeline things in the video, just to help you guys out a little bit. But we appreciate you guys watching, especially if you watched all the way through. So if you like this
You're a
episode,
savage.
yeah, for real. If you guys are awesome if you watch all the way through. So if you like this episode, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff. We've got more fun episodes about baseball and other sports coming up. If you're watching us on Apple Podcast or Spotify, uh, download it.
Follow, subscribe, do all the good stuff.
Give us a good review. Leave a 5-star
Tell your
rating.
friends.
All those things. And we're just excited to keep talking about sports with you guys. So until next time.
See ya.